Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there? I'm Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there hanging out is Dave Hyatt. What's going on, my brother?
Not much. I just have to say that I've talked to a bunch of coaches, and I can't believe how insanely dumb this new proposal for the long jump is.
Oh,
It's
God.
just absolutely asinine. Part of the whole skill of that event is to be able sure that you can take off from where the designated board is, not have a whatever it's going to be a 3 foot area where you can jump out of and they're going to measure it with like because imagine some of these 80-year-old officials trying to look at where they jumped from and then trying to measure it. Oh goodness.
Make every jump count, Dave. That is the goal. Every jump
I
count.
don't.
And I can't wait until we have
You
no more
like it?
false starts.
You
We have
like this
no more
rule?
false starts. If they false start in the 100, we just let them stand where
Might as
they
well.
are and then
Yeah.
do the
Go
gun.
ahead.
No more fouls in any other events. Like, I can't wait for it. We're just going to kind of just have no rules. I'm excited. I'm excited for that era
I
of
love how Carl Lewis is going ape shit over it though on X. He's like,
it's fantastic.
What?
So before we get into all the fun stuff, give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 star Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Today is Wednesday, February 12th of 2024. It's episode 76. We were unfortunate that Dave was faking a sickness on Monday and we couldn't go.
No, not the case. But
No, Dave was feeling like hot garbage, so we couldn't go. Can't do it without our brother. So we're here on Wednesday. We're excited. Before we jump into the PRs and stuff, always like to talk about last week's show. We had my good friend, both of our former co-coach, I guess, fellow coach,
yeah,
Megan Blue. She is the head track coach at Chesapeake High School, Baltimore County, and a Toms River North alumni. So please go give that a listen. We had a really fun time talking to her about the differences in athletes because she's been in different states coaching, different schools. So it was a real cool insight. And her going into social work is an even better insight on like the mental side of it. So it was a great show.
it was.
We'll give it a listen. We're going to jump into the PRs right away. Dave, I'm going to start off. Our buddies over at Red Arrow Track Club, always coming in and producing. We got our Michigan fandom over there, which makes me pumped.
Yeah.
Over at the Grand Valley State University Michigan Indoor Track Series, the fifth meet for that. Going to start off with the ladies. Eighth grader Audrey Klein ran an 800 and 241.49. Ninth grader Lucy Cross ran a 60 in 8.86. 10th grader Beatrice Perichetti ran an 800 meter in 238.76. 11th grader Elena Figueroa ran a 3200 in 1037.62. And 11th grader Naya Dibke ran a 200 in 26.19. So ladies, all blazing fast. Congratulations. They are awesome. And let's go to the gentleman there. 10th grader Henry Robinson ran a 223.84. 11th grader Eli Johansson ran an 800 in 205.49. 12th grader Eli Tony, 800, 204.25. And 12th grader Shay White ran the 800 in 156.43. So for all you Michiganders out there that keep sending us these PRs, keep it up. We're pumped to hear all of you improving. And some of these names are on here, Hyatt, weekly, which makes me happy.
They are. Yes.
Just keeping on. It's a different event sometimes, but it's awesome to see. So Hyatt, take it away.
All right. I want to give a shout out to our Lacey boy. Thank you to Coach Geiger, Andrew Tature, for running a PR of 938.38 to get sixth in the Group 3 32. It looks like he's just going to miss out possibly on being a wild card. And also to our Manchester buddy, Coach Griffin and Coach Chef doing an amazing job. We got Brian Swain with a PR of 14 feet. And I'd like to give a shout out to Angelina George, where I'm teaching now. She got second in the Group 2 800 and 216.26. I believe she's a top 6 seed going into the MOC in the 8. So awesome job, everyone.
And an extra shout out for Brian right there. 14 feet is a school record, and he took second place. And you almost forgot Westfield, group champion.
Group 4 state.
champ-
Group 4 state champs.
Group 4 state champs. In a lot of other states, that would be a state champion, but not in New Jersey, damn it. Got to go
Got the
win
meeting
that pot.
champs.
So, yeah. So we
No,
got.
but it is the last chance to get a team title. So
It is,
it's the highest team title that you can get is the groups. And then MOC is just all individuals.
I kind of hate. I wish I had teams at MOCs. I think that would be
It's so hard though because you don't have kids who like the only teams who would ever win is a team who has great studs. We were talking about this on Saturday at the meet. Like I've seen teams win state titles with 2 or 3 guys, and they might lose every dual meet because they're not a great team. They just have studs. But Westfield is an all around really good team.
When you get to meet a champs, they do cross country scoring. Every place counts, but it's just the lowest score gets you the team title. But I digress. So again, yeah, congrats to everyone. Keep on bringing us the PRs. We love them. But this week we have an absolutely special episode
So
because
excited.
I'm going to give a call back to the start of the show. I say running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, right? We have not had one of those, at least two of those. We're filling in one of those quotas today because we finally have a thrower on the show. And it's not just a thrower. He is one of the current best American shot putters and jab throwers in the country.
Hammer, right?
Hammer and jab. Oh, it's Hammer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hammer throwers. My bad. He is Jordan Geist. He is the 2024 USA Indoor National Championship bronze medalist in the event, two-time NCAA champion, two-time Pan American medalist, and a 10-time NCAA D1 All-American. Jordan, what's going on, man?
Alex, David, thanks for having me. Doing well. How about yourself?
We are pumped, and we were just when Phil Grove is the reason why you come on here. He's our connection. When Phil mentioned, he's like, oh, I have a elite thrower, was a monster in high school, and current pro, Olympic hopeful and things like that. And we're just like, yes, absolutely.
100%.
We want more field people because me and Dave are just washed up middle distance runners. And that's kind of where our connection is with all middle distance. So it's like really cool to be able to get those field people in. So, but I'm going to start off this show the way I start off every show with all our other runner people. When did you get the spark to be a thrower and just continue to throw and make that your path? Because I'd imagine, when I think of throwers in high school, even in college, a lot of your football players, a lot of, basketball players, people that want to get better footwork, maybe some wrestlers and outdoor to get some footwork, your heavyweights. And those are the ones that went out for it. And some of them excelled and kept doing it. But for the most part, they were trying to do it to get better footwork, live in the weight room and just do a sport while you're doing it, right? So when was that spark that you were like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this?
I mean, the biggest one. So I started throwing when I was 8 years old. So this is my 18th season throwing. My first few years was just kind of over the summer. I was still playing football. I was still doing basketball, doing the team sports. Those are typically a lot more fun than going out to the high school with your dad and trying to throw a metal ball 20 feet or less at that point. So it wasn't really until middle school, whenever I started being kind of part of a team for a school doing the sport, that I realized kind of how good I was for that age group at middle school into high school, but also just how much more fun it is for me than playing football or basketball. So slowly I stopped playing basketball after middle school, stopped playing football after my sophomore year. I was getting recruited by a couple of D1 football schools after my sophomore year of high school, but track was the passion. Track's what I was good at, and the other two were just kind of taking away from it at the level I was getting to. So kind of middle school, high school, once I started competing for a school against seeing a lot of other people in more of an organized fashion, that's kind of where the spark developed there.
I have to say, I've always been so jealous of the throwers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because here I am, I'm sitting there trying to not eat all day, basically, like being a psycho. And then all of a sudden, here comes a senior thrower that just got back from like Wawa in Jersey with a bunch of sandwiches to share with the other throwers. It's like, we're hungry. We got to eat. It's like, if I eat, I'm going to throw that up on the track. What is that? Did you guys ever have any fun rubbing the noses in it? Someone like the crazy runners that were like, don't want to eat much as you're like pounding like a meatball sub in front of their face?
A little bit, but once you get into college and you realize how much some of the distance runners eat at a high level, it's pretty much a wash at that point.
Yeah, distance
That's the truth.
And absolutely,
When they can eat, they go for
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
exactly. So, bring us down memory lane. So obviously you have a lot of memories in throwing. Like you said, you started at 8 years old. You kept going. What are some of your favorite memories at each level? Stories you could tell us that make you who you are. Good things that you remember from doing then.
So growing up, I mean, I did track basically over the summers until I got to middle school, and then once I dropped basketball, I did it from basically November through June or whenever spring ball started. So some of the early meets of my brother going to meets in the summer. So in Pennsylvania, it was California University of Pennsylvania. That was kind of the big one. Going to a couple of the USATF national meets. And then the first time my freshman year, I got second indoors in the shot put. I was pretty proud of that at the time, and then went and got second at the age group national meet at USATF as well. And then sophomore year, the biggest thing was winning 3 state titles, indoor shot, outdoor shot, and discus.
Wow.
And then going on to New Balance Nationals and placing 4th or 5th there. And then junior, senior year, those placements just kept going up. So through high school, I won 9 state titles and 4 New Balance national titles and a junior title. And then college, the fondest thing for me is the NCAA titles this year. And then winning my first pro hammer meet up in Canada this year. Those are probably some of the bigger highlights that come to the top of my mind.
That's awesome. So I have debated this with many, many people, and I think that I am 100% right. Is there any better record in all of sports than 81 feet by Michael Carter in the high school shot put?
That's certainly up there. Yeah.
I mean, it's unreal. Like, I remember watching kids, I'm like, oh, 50 feet was good. 60. Yeah. And then, like, I think we had one kid in Jersey that I saw, Nick Vina, was like 73 feet-ish. And it was insane. Like, they had to move everything back when he threw. So what is it like being in that stratosphere and like being one of the best to ever do it at that level?
I mean, you just kind of feel untouchable. So, I mean, my junior year, I threw 74 feet. My senior year, I threw 76 feet. But I always had people at the national level that were right there with me. I had Trip Hippery, and then my junior year, I had Bronson Osborne as well. So we always had 70-footers in my class. So I always had to keep working, especially once we got to the national level. But at the state level, it was me kind of competing against myself. So it was me at the state meet saying, okay, I want to win by 8 feet this year. And my last year, I want to win by 10 feet or whatever it was. But yeah, that high school record is ridiculous. I had one practice in high school that I threw 82 feet, but I never came close to it in a meet. I threw 76-10 and maybe a 78-foot foul or something like that. But it's just perfect storm to get that thing over 80 feet.
76-10 is ridiculous. I mean, like, think about it. You're winning by 10 feet. That means that the person in second could throw 66 feet, which is a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things about, like, I noticed about throwers is things like I used to like to go hang out with the throwers because you guys and girls there seem to have much more of a camaraderie because you're hanging out with each other all day. Like, right? Like, it seems like throwers were a little bit closer. Does that kind of dwindle as you go up in levels, as you go to college and you're really going high level college and now you're in pro? Does that kind of dwindle when it gets a little more competitive? Or is there still more of a camaraderie amongst throwers? Because you guys are kind of like thrown into the corner, go throw here. Like, is there still that camaraderie of like, we're just going to do our thing and enjoy our time here?
You pretty much hit the nail on the head. So throws at the professional level, especially hammer, more so than shot put, we're all poor. We're not making any money, but we're doing it together. So we get to kind of relate to each other in that way. And whenever we're all out in the corner, so like indoor nationals this year in Albuquerque, the shot put ring was 50 feet away from the indoor track. So it's just kind of us over there, just talking crap in between throws, just hanging out. And that's the other thing about throwing is you have a lot of time to talk in between throwing. It's not like running where you're just continually putting in effort. So we have a lot of time to talk. There's a lot of camaraderie across all the throwing events just because pretty similar upbringing for a lot of us through the sport, and just kind of our own situations are all pretty similar.
So what's it like when you're around there being around like some of the legends, right? Like you're building your legend. You're young. I feel like you're going to be at the top for a long time. You did some great things in college. You're obviously doing great things in pro, taking, third with a pretty good group. Do you kind of pick apart things that guys like a Krauser does or like, a Kovacs and things like that? Do you kind of like watch them and try and take notes, or do you focus more on what you and your coach are doing?
So I used to be, I'll say, really bad at it. So I used to watch people and be like, oh, he keeps his left arm back better than I do. I should try doing that. And then I would try doing it and mess up 3 other things we've been working on. So That's kind of my biggest piece of advice I give to the kids I coach or anyone who asks me is just kind of focus on yourself. So like at big meets now or any meets really, I don't watch anybody else throw. I just watch my feet. I keep my eyes to myself and I know kind of what my process is. I think that there's things that Joe does or that Ryan does that are really cool takeaways training wise that I could do, but I'm not 6'7" and I can't bench press 650 pounds. So their throw is not my throw, honestly. And between doing that and balancing two events, it's really kind of have to be in my own headspace to have any sort of success.
I have kind of a technical question in a sense. Did you ever not spin? And at what point do you think it's appropriate for a thrower to go from the glide to the spin? Is that something that has to happen with as you get further? Because I mean, I would imagine there's only like the only guy that I could think of who ever threw glide pro was the great offensive lineman Jonathan Ogden used to actually glide. When he threw. But like, is there a time when that's the right move, and is it necessary to spin? I mean, it obviously is since everyone does it.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I think most of the great throwers start with a glide because even though it's a rotational event, once you're spinning, there's still a very linear aspect to it. You want the ball to be on a straight line, basically from your entry to the release. And there's no better way to develop that path than with a glide and being able to finish with a glide. So a glide finish is a lot more efficient than a spinner's finish because it's more linear and there's a lot less diversion with the ball. So a lot of people start off with the glide. And once you get good at the glide and you think the spin's the right move. So for me, I started spinning in 8th grade. So I threw for 5 or 6 years before I started doing the spin. I did the glide for 5 or 6 years. And there's still a lot of elements that I use from that. And there's still a lot of elements that Ryan Krauser uses from it.
Yeah, browser glide.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people don't do it anymore just because the spin as a whole is a lot more efficient and you're able to create a lot more torque on the ball. But there's still a lot of elements from the glide that get brought into the spin. And there's been a few really good gliders, especially Europeans. The David Storrell just retired. He was kind of the last great glider on the men's side. But the spin is definitely becoming the much more prominent technique in the shot put, especially on the men's side.
But I would definitely imagine that as a novice or someone getting into it, you should always start with the glide because it's a much easier to master and because there's way less moving parts.
Exactly. It's a simpler technique. You're still developing the power output that you need to be able to throw far, and you're getting a feel for being able to accelerate a ball. So it's really good to learn the basics and just sort of get into it. And that's why a lot of decathletes do it, is it's a lot simpler technique to develop whenever you're only able to throw once a week, whereas a professional shot putter might be throwing 4 or 5 times a week. So you're definitely hitting the nail on the head there. It's a lot simpler, a lot easier to develop until you're ready to take the next stap.
And I am now excited because now I can call it a ball because Jordan Geist does. So I don't have to say
exactly.
Shot put. It's a ball. I love that. I love it. Empirical object. It doesn't have to be called a shot put. You heard it here from Jordan Geist. You can call it a ball if you want. Makes it simpler talking to people who don't know anything about the sport.
Because technically, the put is the verb. The shot is the actual ball.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So, Jordan, what was the adjustment like going from high school to college, going from 12 to 16 pounds? Because unlike a lot of other events and a lot of other things in life, right, you don't necessarily go from something and getting 4 pounds more. And 4 pounds might not sound like a lot.
It's a lot.
When you're trying to launch it into the air, it's a huge difference. Did you have to go a little bit back to mechanic drawing board when you went up? Did you find yourself like gliding in practice a little to get your mechanics down, or did you just incorporate it right in right away? With
the short answer is no, I didn't really change anything, but the long answer is my senior year. So after my junior year, I picked up again in August or September, and all I threw was the 16 for my first 3-4 months of my high school training, and I did a meet in December. And I threw 68 feet with the 16, which is a age group world record.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so 18-year-old. So I threw that 2084, which at the time, I think the Olympics before that, I would have gotten third place. And then coming into my freshman year, it was basically just me developing on that. And I threw 2145. That was the year I was the youngest to ever throw 70 feet. So it was a pretty smooth transition. I was really strong in high school too, so that helped, and I was a really good athlete. So for me, it was just kind of honing the technical pieces. And over college, I've gotten a lot more technical and changed a few more things every year. And this last year was the one where I was finally consistent at that distance. It wasn't just one throw and then 65 the rest of the year. So this year was just kind of the culmination of all those technical changes to being a little bit more consistent.
And I love what you just said, because I think a lot of people have this conception that, oh, throwers are just these guys who are heavy or out of shape. They are amazing athletes. You guys have to be in phenomenal shape and have incredible like leg work and footwork and agility just to be able to throw it. So I love that you put in the part of the athleticism.
Yeah, so last year, it's just some testing numbers. I benched 560. I squatted 725 for two, and at 280 pounds, my vertical jump was 38.4.
Wow.
That is an athlete, ladies and gentlemen, right there. That is an
And
athlete.
you know what? And that's the thing too. It's like when you get to your level, when you get to the elite level, you kind of are all that way, right? Like all of you guys are freak athletes, like in your own ways. And like it's so cool. And like people need to realize, like Dave said, like the throwers, yeah, in high school, some of them might just be the big kids, right? And even some in college, they get away with it. Once you get to the pro and the elite level, it's a very different ball game. So this is kind of a left field question. Did you become a master at converting meters to feet? Like in an instant? Because like I struggle with that every time.
I'm always on my phone, like, okay, that is
like meters. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm an American. Give me feet. Like, have you become like a master at doing the math quickly and converting it?
I'm pretty good at it, but honestly, so I mean, everything in high school was feet and inches.
Yeah.
And then once I got into college, it was just a cold start into metric. So all I knew when I was in college was what my best was in metric. So you basically just go cold turkey. And I know 2134 is 70 feet, and I can kind of eyeball the rest of it. So,
you know what, though? To me, that is a problem that we have here. Like every other country uses meters. Why are we still using feet and inches? Meters is so much easier. Like it's all done by like tens. It's a lot easier process, but we just don't know it here. So it's very hard for us. But if we would get with the times and do what everyone else does, then we wouldn't be watching these meets on TV. Like I have no idea.
I love being an American chauvinist. When it's on our American network, show us the feet conversion, damn it. Be a chauvinist. Come on. But so you also throw the hammer, right? At a pro level. When did you start throwing the hammer? Was that a high school event? 'Cause I don't know. Are there any high schools in the country that do hammer, like any states? Because I know Jersey doesn't. I know Jersey.
Rhode Island's the big one.
They're the big one. They throw it in high school.
Rhode Island. It's starting to get adopted more. So Ohio's kind of always thrown it a little bit. Georgia's thrown it a little bit. California's picking it up a little bit.
I always heard it was safety concerns that like because it is a dangerous element with the chain and everything. And if you're not a master at the technique, it could get very dangerous. You can hurt.
Not just that, at the indoor level, there's not many facilities that you have enough space to throw it.
Yeah, so the weight indoors, for those who don't know, that's basically the hammer that's brought down to a third of the length and about double the weight. So high school's 25 pounds for guys, 20 for girls, 35 past high school. The world record was just set in USA's this past year, or 86 feet. So substantially further than what shot put goes, but it's a big safety concern because of the cage requirements. Because it's pretty hard to aim that after 4 turns. So especially like hammer at the high school level, you have to have probably a $20,000 to $30,000 cage at a high school to be able to sanction it. So a lot of schools just haven't been able to keep up with that. A lot of states haven't been able to. But for my own upbringing, Pennsylvania doesn't throw it. We started throwing the weight my senior year, but we didn't throw it at our state meet, so it was kind of pointless. Hammer wise, I also didn't throw it except for New Balance Nationals. We knew the meet director and he knew I was a good weight thrower. So I got second in the weight my senior year of high school, just shy of 80 feet. And then I went to New Balance Nationals in the hammer. Practiced it for probably about a month with my club coach at the time, Michael Hambrick, and I threw it was 240 or 238. It was top 20 all time in high school, and I won the national meet on my basically my first meet ever doing it.
Wow.
Then got into college, actually learned the rhythm of it a little bit. Scored Pac-12s my freshman year, third at Pac-12s my sophomore year. COVID, came back first time over 70 meters, and then this year I just got a new coach at Arizona, Lucas McKay. He was a professional hammer thrower, so he kind of helped me take my throw to the next level. And third at NCAAs, third furthest American collegiate of all time, fifth at USA's. So hammer just kind of pretty natural. My technique is I'm far from the technical model, but I have a lot of horsepower and I know how to accelerate the ball. So that's kind of my big advantage. So now we're just kind of working on the technique now, which is definitely the harder part of the throw.
So how hard is it to stay at that elite level in both? Like, is the training similar? Is it a lot different? I would imagine that some of the, like it's the same lifting and doing things on days that you don't throw, or I don't know, you might throw every day, but like how much different is each event to train for? And it's got to be hard to be at that level for both.
It is. So the techniques are obviously very different. The concepts are the same. The upper body doesn't do a lot besides release it, and the lower body is what's doing most of the work. Lifting wise, it's going to be pretty similar until you're at the highest level. And then after that, shot put, you still need to bench because you're doing that press. But hammer, you want your upper body to be super loose. So a lot of them don't do any bench press.
So are you the biggest hammer guy right now, like in terms of like chest wise and shoulder wise?
I'm probably the strongest, yeah, at least. So I'm probably the strongest hammer thrower, and I'm probably not even in the top 20 shot putters in the world.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah. So the training, I mean, I'm trying to keep it as technical as possible, and lifting, just trying to keep it pretty generic with some specific strength. So I'm throwing heavy implements still,
Yeah.
but not necessarily lifting super heavy, just to be able to continue to do both at a high level and not have one get taken away from too much bench press or not enough pressing or whatever it may be.
So
That must be a crazy schedule.
Yeah, I can.
Every week, like it's gotta be very, very strict. And I'm doing this on this day and this on.
So thanks for fitting in the podcast.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We appreciate that. So is there ever a thought or a time to like just pick one, or do you have a passion for both at this point and you want to like, is there a goal to be a double world champion? Like, is that a goal right now?
I mean, that'd be great. I don't think it's the most realistic, just because I don't think I can continue to do both to be able to do that, especially over the number of years it would take for Krauser to kind of step back. And the hammer world champion this past year is even younger than I am. So there is going to be a point where we drop one. I'm not sure which one it's going to be yet, but ultimately it comes down to the two paths. So if I want to make money, it's shot put. But if I want to make more USA teams, it's probably going to be in the hammer. So it's really just kind of seeing which one develops more and kind of what my situation is after a year or two of trying to do both.
And it sucks as a pro athlete that money is even a factor, but we can get into that maybe later on in the show. But we go over that all the time. It's so infuriating. But
and for the record, I'm rooting for
I digress for now on that.
I'm rooting for you to stick with both and just beat them both and become a double world champion. That is that's my prediction. It's my magic ball. And you have the talking to Nobles touch. Everyone that comes on our show does better afterwards. So you're going to be a double world champion soon. I'm just throwing that out there.
Perfect. I know for the Olympics this year, I think 4 days in a row, it's prelims shot, prelims hammer, final shot, finals hammer.
Oh my.
So if I do both at the Olympics, it's going to be a busy week for me.
So here's a question for me. So you guys do get a good amount of break in between each throw, right? Is it more tiring to mentally stay in the game and mentally stay focused at these big meets than it is to actually physically execute? Because I'd imagine like you go in there and obviously your first throw, you want all your throws to be great, right? But you have multiple throws for a reason. So it's a good feeler. How does my body feel? Like, type of thing. And then you're going in and looking at it going, okay, I know I didn't do this right, talking to coach. And now what is harder as a thrower, staying in the mental game for those long flights and getting through? Or is it actually physically tougher? Which one is more of a difficult aspect?
It kind of depends on each person. So I think the physical part is trained and the mental part is learned, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the mental part, you can't stay in the zone for an hour and a half or however long your meet is, but you can stay in the zone for the 15 seconds leading up to your throw until after your throw.
Yep.
So that's kind of the methodology that I take, is just kind of that hype up right before I go into the circle. But I'm thinking technically in between about what I need to feel. Physically, it's how you practice. So, I mean, if you're just going bang, 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 throw after throw after throw in practice, that's not very practical. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of practicing that in practice and how you train, of being able to take more time in between reps. And at a high school level, it's easy because you got 9 people all sharing a circle, waiting one after another to throw. So you kind of develop that timing for it. It's just what you do with that time in between throws. So I'll go off to the side, I'll do some drills, try to feel what I want to when I get the ball back in my hand. But it kind of depends on every thrower. And at the high school level, I think the mental part's probably a little bit more difficult. But it just takes reps and experience to kind of develop that.
So here's a question I think everybody wants to know. Are you a yeller? Because that was the coolest thing to me. And like, just that release and that energy. Are you a yeller, or are you like a subdued, I'm just going to go in there and do my job? With some people, they go after it and they're just like, and you hear them across the whole track, no matter how many people are in there, like that guy just threw a bomb.
Yeah, so I'm regarded as one of the more stoic throwers, a little bit quiet, a little soft spoken, but I'm definitely a big yeller once I get to releasing the implement for sure. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Not in practice, but in a meet, yeah, I'll start yelling.
What?
Now, is that kind of a mental thing too, to get you like, is it like a good feel, like a rhythm type of thing that, you start that yell at the release point, or is it just a natural thing to do?
It's kind of natural because so scientifically an exhale creates more power across your midsection, so you actually throw further if you exhale. And I think the yell is just a more exaggerated version of that everyone has just always kind of picked up.
So is
Love
that
it.
why tennis players grunt while they're hitting too? Because they're exhaling? That
Yeah.
It is,
actually
yeah.
makes a whole ton of sense. Unless you're like Sharapova and she's like just moaning. I'm sorry, it's weird. Some of them are weird with their grunts and yells in tennis. I love tennis, but it's bizarre. But throwers are awesome. So I want to get into a little more of the life of a pro thrower, because we talk a lot on here. The life of a pro track athlete, outside of a select few, is not very glamorous. It's difficult. It's tough to make money. We had on earlier a little while ago Eric Sawinski, who is probably on TV more than most runners and can barely scrape by being a rabbit. Like he's always out there. You see him, you talk about him, and he's only getting to these meets scraping by. What is it like for you? Do you have a sponsorship right now, number one? And number two, what is it like getting to meets, having to afford to pay for these meets and things like that? How is that?
So sponsorship wise, I don't have anything major. I have a couple of local people that I kind of know. So
Ridiculous.
Ironwood Track Club, that's the main one. So TJ Crater up in Ironwood, which is up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He was my former college coach at Arizona, and he took over the club up there. So I just got brought on this year. Indoor USA's was the first meet I competed for them. And then the other really cool one is a barbecue company in Tucson that they give me food and gift cards and some gear from them, which is pretty cool. And then I also used to be sponsored by Kabuki Strength, which is a lifting equipment company. I sponsored them for a couple years while I was in college, but not anymore.
So speaking of sponsorship, does it help with the success and maybe some of the popularity that someone like Ryan Krauser brings to the event? Do you think that that can help trickle down to, I mean, you're still young at it, you're still up and coming, but do you think his success is going to help in the future get more people to notice the shot put because he is always on TV, and so that's good for the sport. So do you think that maybe his success could help maybe you guys in the future?
I think that it's really good for the sport. It's getting a lot more exposure, especially to shot put. I think the problem is Nike doesn't want anyone else while they have Ryan Krauser and Joe
Yeah.
Kovacs. And Nike tells people like, we'll sell shoes without you. People still buy the throwing shoes, so they've stepped away from sponsoring a lot of throwers. They kind of sponsor the top one or two in the U.S. for shot put, and then discus hammer jab is next to nothing shoe company wise, aside from I think Adidas sponsors one and maybe a couple others here and there, but no big sponsorships in the throws. You look at the start list for the trials in the mile, and you're going to see a whole lot of Nike, Adidas, Puma, but you'll see maybe one or two of those in the shot put this year. It's mostly just small sponsorships. A lot of people are working two jobs. USATF has started getting better about providing some funding. I was lucky enough to get put on that this year, so it's not enough to live off of alone, but it's enough to help me cover travel to some meets and help cover some cost of living stuff.
It's such a shame. I mean, but you are right. When you watch these shots, a lot of like whatever club team that they're on, it's usually the uniform that they're wearing.
So I was gonna ask about that. When you're practicing, are you throwing with other throwers? Do you have a team of throwers, or is it more of an individual thing that you guys are in
So it
that?
kind of depends on where I'm at. So I still train at University of Arizona, so I practice with the college kids. If I have a double session and my coach is in a staff meeting, I'll just go up by myself, and then my second session might be with them. But every once in a while, I'll go up to Arizona State as well to work with their throws coach, Ryan Whiting, up there. So he has a group of professional throwers that train up there. So I'll typically train with them, or maybe a collegiate or two will pop in with us as well. But usually it's with other people. That just helps you from going mentally insane and just continually throwing one throw after another by yourself out there.
And, and I just feel like I think we're seeing a lot more like the running clubs becoming a thing, like, with Dathan Ritzenheim, what he's doing down there, and Brooks Beast have been around for a while. And I feel like that could also help you guys out a lot if you can make throwing teams and have a dedicated throwing coach that's not a college coach that is just going to be there and like, okay, let's go to Santa Barbara, wherever, name a place, like, and let's go. Here's a facility. Let's all go together. Let's train our asses off. Let's become a professional throwing team. I feel like that would help overall with sponsorships and stuff too, because that has to be the tough part too. It's like, okay, I'm going to sponsor Jordan Geist, but what am I going to, what am I getting out of it? Who else is helping him? Who else is with him? Is there anything else to market him with outside that he goes to a few meets and he throws really well at those meets? So has there been an avenue or discussion with other pros and coaches about potentially trying to do this?
Yeah, they do exist. I mean, when the Olympic Training Center was open, that was obviously kind of the idea over there,
Yeah.
just providing resources for athletes. But since that shut down, there's a couple of throwing clubs, but most of the coaches are still working at a university for facility usage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Tom Puxtis in Alabama, he has a javelin group that he's training over there. Mike Judge at Kennesaw State, he's got a group that he's training down there, mostly hammer weight guys. There's a group in New York. Patty over there, he's trains Rudy Winkler and a couple other of those guys over there. Ryan in Phoenix. It's just really hard because a lot of throwers can't afford to move across the country.
Yeah.
And not have a job and not have the connections that they have. Like for me in Tucson, I have a lot of connections here for PT, for facility usage, for strength and conditioning, for this and for that. So it's kind of not easy for me to walk away from that, especially 1 year out of college. And switching coaches like that's usually not a great idea either, because you want to try to develop this long-term plan and stick with who you kind of started with. So there's a few of people that are making that work, but it's just pretty difficult to do for most of us.
Dave and I talk all the time, just how ridiculous it is that you are legitimately one of the top athletes on the planet, one of the top throwers on the planet. And here you are trying to figure out how to afford things. Like, it is absolute nonsense that is occurring. And we'll talk more when we try to figure out like how to, like when we ask you our famous question of how to improve the sport. I want to ask about meets. Now we see, meets, the spotlights, you go to the Peacock feed or whatever. What are we watching? We're watching sprints. We're watching, some of the mid distance runs. The long distance gets cut out for commercials. But then here we come back and this thrower did this. And it's like the top thrower did this, the top jumper. Nobody worries about the rest of the fights. Maybe if they're a fan favorite and everyone knows them and they're struggling, okay, they'll show it, right? They'll jump their throw. How is that like? What is the treatment at these meets for you guys as throwers, as opposed to the jumpers, as opposed to the runners? Do you guys get same treatment as it look like? Do you guys get less, more? What is that like? What do you guys feel like it's like too as a group?
It just kind of feels like we're thrown off into the corner. It's kind of how it looks on TV too. So I mean, at USA's this last year, women's shot put, the flow of the throws and each one was dictated by TV timing.
Wow.
So every throw had to start exactly on the minute. So even if a girl had fouled a throw, you still have to wait 45 seconds before you could step in and take your throw. So we're just kind of
stay warm. How do you stay warm that way? And how do you stay prepared?
Well, the thing is, none of the girls knew that they were going to do that.
Oh.
So they just walked out there and just kind of got screwed over. So it's just, that's the type of stuff you learn just to kind of roll with the punches in this sport. And that's why we kind of like. So Tucson Elite's a big one that we host here at the University of Arizona. It's only throwing events, and it's hosted by the throws coach, designed by throwers for throwers. That's the type of meet that a lot of people like coming out to. We have a big barbecue in between the 2 days.
Nice.
There's no TVs out here. USATF only has affiliation with the second day. So that's the type of meet that we really like having. Whereas USA's, we're just kind of thrown on the back burner. Something like the Pan American Games, we warm up outside of the track throwing. We go into the call tent, wait 45 minutes. Then we could go out, take one warm-up throw, and then we're throwing in the meet. So it's just kind of, you get used to it, and the more experience you get, you kind of learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not ideal.
Do you think
I just wish that like
quick,
they
Dave, real quick, do you think it should be mandatory for these bigger meets that the meet directors are comprised of like a specialist from each event? That like, a distance, a sprints, a throwing, a jumping, they should all have like a council or kind of like a board to direct the meet so that there could be a say for every side, because it kind of seems like the directors pick their biggest thing that they want, or USATF, like the TV picks that, but like and no one kind of has like, there's no lobbying for you guys, right? Like maybe one of the coaches that are big or Ryan or Joe could say something, right? Like, but it falls on deaf ears, I'd imagine, all the time. Like do you think that could be a change that would be good for everyone if you guys at least had a lobbying and a say of, hey, this is what we need out of this event as well?
And USATF definitely has that. They have a board of ex and current athletes that are kind of, that's their job, is kind of lobby some of that stuff. But it's a business. USATF is all about trying to make money, and they put some of that back towards us, but it's not as much as we would like, obviously, but it's a business. You just kind of learn to roll with it. We understand that for the trials, we're going to be out there over 3 days, and the hotels are going to be jacked up 3 times as much as they normally are. It's just kind of what we're used to. None of us like it. We've all said it, but it's just the way it's always been done. And Eugene's got to pay off that nice new track. So
Peacock, seriously, next time you see Jordan go and throw 70 feet, just throw up a graphic of Patty Mahomes throwing the ball about 20 yards. And he threw a 16-pound shot put further than Patrick Mahomes. And a 20-yard throw is considered difficult. And that's a light football. And I think that's something that they need to do, right? Put up graphics like that to try and make up someone that doesn't pay attention to shot and be like, oh, wait a minute, that's 16 pounds as opposed to a, I don't know, 3-pound, 4-pound football, not even like lit up with air. This is pure metal. Like, and that's, I feel like that would draw eyes to the sport more, where it's like, oh, wait, oh shit, just do it that far? That's insane. Like the type of like cool things like that could be we've talked about that. I know I'm jumping ahead a little, but just kind of that pisses me off that you guys you're great athletes and your track is so screwed up in that way, right? Like, let's focus on the one, let's focus on the two, let's focus on the mile. And if there's someone great in some of the other events, maybe, but those are the bread and butter, right? And it's terrible. So like
It's awful.
so anything else you want to say about like what goes on at meets that you kind of want to get out that maybe people don't know about what goes on with throwers and things like that?
Coming off of indoor USA's, nobody likes that circle. Um, Ryan Krauser doesn't like it. Tripp, who's a Nike athlete, doesn't like it. I won my national title on it. I hate it. Most people don't like it, and they haven't changed it.
So what is there about it that you don't like? What's the difference? So
It's wood.
I'm completely ignorant to this. What is there the difference between circles that are like what type of surfaces are there and what sets this one apart?
There's a couple. So indoors is a wooden circle. So most of the USA ones are going to be wooden circles. There's some colleges who have cement circles. Those are great. Wooden circles are hard because A, they can move around on the surface, but B, you slip a lot easier in wood, especially when you have chalk on your ball and it falls into the circle or whatever. So especially Albuquerque's pretty notorious for being a pretty slick circle.
And is that dangerous for you guys too with your legs, like getting hurt?
It certainly can be. And it's like, so Eugene, Oregon, their circles on their infield when it's raining are very much a death trap. And it's not great to throw in. And then B, we have to throw a indoor shot put, which is a plastic shell filled with sand or tungsten. And the balls actually compress a little bit. So they're not solid formed. A lot of them will compress a little bit. So, and they're usually also a lot bigger. So if an outdoor ball's
Yes.
here, indoor balls there. So
That's got to change everything about how you throw too, especially with
Yeah.
the weight distribution of the throw as you're spinning with the sand moving a little bit, I'd imagine.
and we're the only country that throws an indoor shot put.
Right. Oh yeah.
If you go to the World Championships, they're
Throw a
throwing a
medal.
medal outdoors.
Absolutely.
And we've hosted worlds here before. I don't think there's any reason why we can't like make that happen at a USA meet whenever that's what we're doing at the world meet. So
It's probably because they use it at high school. So like, all right, well, then we'll just keep using it for whatever reason. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why you can't use a metal shot. And I guess if you're throwing on the gym floor, they don't want that.
exactly.
But if you have a facility that has a circle and either it's rubber or it's turf, there's no reason why you can't throw a metal shot in the indoor.
At a track only facility, I'd imagine you should make those areas
Well, oh, yeah.
friendly for metal shot puts,
But
right?
they still throw indoor shots even if they have like, I mean, again,
Yeah.
gym floor, I completely understand that's expensive.
Yeah. So, yeah, see, these are all the things that I honestly didn't know about. And that's like, it's crazy what you guys have to deal with, right? And so that's pretty bizarre. So what other services? You said cement, you said wood. Are there any other ones?
no, those are the main two. I mean, every once in a while you'll find like a plastic one, but those are very, very few and far between. I think Air Force has one, but wood, cement, those are obviously going to be the big two.
Do you change your shoes depending on which surface you are as a pro? Are there certain specific ones that are designed for wood or specific ones designed for cement?
Not necessarily designed for, but I have certain ones that are broken into different levels so I have one that's my outdoor ones have a little bit of a groove to the bottom of it to have a little more traction. And indoors, I have ones that are completely flat so I can wet the bottoms of them to grip the wood a little bit more.
Crazy.
And is there a huge difference in the shoes for the different events, like shot, disc, and hammer, or are they similar because you have to spin in them, or are the shoes made different? Like, is one like a high top? Is one a low? I know shots usually like a smaller, like a lower shoe, but I didn't know if there was a difference in the shoes per event.
Shot, disc, and hammer are all the exact same. Javelin's different because
yeah.
those are spikes.
The spikes, yep.
As far as shot, disc, and hammer, they're all the exact same. They're going to be broken in a little different between hammer and the other ones just because you're using the heel and the hammer as well. But the actual shoe itself are the same for all three.
So you're going to be excited when they bring that long jump thing into shot when you're going to have a throwing zone and there's going to be no more board or anything, and you're
You can
gonna,
step out the front. Go
you
ahead.
just, yeah, just don't touch the grass. Just we'll start the mark where you go. What do you feel about that? Did you see that change with the long jump that they're thinking
I
about it?
did, yes. I mean, I think the world records are going to get broken. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to worry about where you take off from.
Exactly. Yeah, and
There's no
I
skill in
think
that. You just, I mean, there's obviously skill, but you don't have to worry about getting steps and running backs. Like, it's just
It's pure athleticism. It's not, there is, you take away the skill of it.
and I think that if you look at the Highland Games, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Highland Games, where you do the stone toss and you flip
Yeah.
the
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all that stuff. There's some of that stuff that's implemented in that. So you throw behind a toe board and only one foot has to stay in and the other one can step out and they'll still mark it from the toe board. Or for the caber toss, it's about how straight it goes. So you have an official going behind you trying to figure out how straight it's actually going from when you release. I think that it's going to be really, really difficult, like you guys said, especially if you have an older official trying to pinpoint where they're taking off from in the long jump, unless there's a way to make it laser measured.
which there probably is pro level, but not high school level.
Or even
Yeah,
more colleges.
that's not a scalable thing
No.
downward towards high school or like the junior Olympic stuff or anything like that. So
And
I
that's part
think
of the
that
challenge for you guys as throwers too. You have the lip right there, right? Like you can't step over that. Like you're gonna trip over that half the time because it's elevated. Like imagine if they took that away and it was kind of like, meh, you're cool. Like you have another 3 feet, you could spin onto it. Like
yeah.
how much would that change the game for you? Because you have to get your rotation and there's your mark there, right? Like where you're safe, where you're not safe.
So I mean, for me, I'm considered a shorter thrower. So it's what 7 feet 2 inches or 7 feet. That's plenty of room for me.
Yeah.
But up at Arizona State, they have a 7'1" kid who's
Jeez.
trying to throw shot put. So the amount of drive that he gets across the circle, he's left with about 6 inches in between his feet, which isn't a wide base at all to be able to throw the shot put. So he's very much running out of room. So someone like that could benefit tremendously from it. But that's just kind of the luck of the draw. And that's why taller athletes tend to go a little bit more towards the discus because of biomechanical advantages, but also not having to worry about running out of circle as much.
Yeah, there's all those little intricacies, and I just think like taking away something like that takes away part of the skill, part of the strategy. Because you probably know a lot of guys that if that wasn't there, they might be able to throw further, right? But you have the skill to know, and like you probably know that circle, most circles like the back of your hand, right? You understand when you get there where you could be, where you can't be, and I'd imagine it's a lot with your. Especially you're back in the day, long jumpers, once they put their tape down, their legs go on autopilot. They know, and it's just it's like golf. You get that one perfect and you try to do it the same every single time. And you're frustrated as hell when it feels the same and it doesn't work the same, right? Like it's a very similar thing there. So, I mean, I hope that it gets tried. It's terrible and it gets rejected. And I hope like that it doesn't trickle anywhere else, that they see that this is stupid and that it doesn't go on. So I hope it doesn't get to you guys and the throwers at all.
Why have a bar in the pole vault? Just measure everyone's
Just a
highest
high jump, yeah.
height or the highest hip height.
Yeah.
Just have
Hondo
one,
just jumped 27 feet.
just do one flight for the high jump. That's it.
How high are your feet in the bowl?
You could drive forward. It doesn't matter. There's no that the standard makes a difference in all that. So we're gonna get to the golden question, Jordan. If you had a magic wand and you could change something about the sport that would draw more casual eyes, that will get a bigger fan base, that will get individuals like you paid, that absolutely deserves to be a freaking millionaire and not have to worry about anything,
Yep.
what would you change?
I mean, so the biggest thing has to be exposure, right? Because
100%.
everyone knows about the track part.
Yep.
The field part's usually put on the back burner. This year they didn't even throw a shot put at the Milrose games. So I mean, just offering it at more places and just having some prize money to incentivize the best people to go to it. That's got to be the big part. I think one of the more fun ones, like you kind of mentioned earlier, is just having someone who's never done the event before
Try it.
go out, try throwing a shot put, and then just show the professionals going after that. I think that would just be kind of funny, but also just kind of shows how impressive it is what some of us are able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like always tell people like, I'm like, go to your bowling alley, find a 16-pound bowling ball, and tell me how far you can. I mean, it's different in size, but it's the same weight. Like nobody even bowls with a ball that's heavy. That's like, whoa, that's way too heavy. So just
Maybe
imagine
Jordan
that.
does. I'd imagine Jordan
Oh, I'm sure
throws bowls with the 16-pound ball.
he's got a 40-pounder. He just rips down there.
He just actually shot puts it into the bowling pins. He might be more accurate that way. You're probably pretty accurate with
Probably, yeah.
it.
No,
And
but like we've had people say, like I mentioned earlier, like set up a circle, and this is from our buddy Krista Felsky in
yeah,
Westfield. Set up a circle in Times Square. Have a shop out there. Have people feel and watch you guys throw. Set up a pole vault pit outside somewhere and have Mondo just show these people in person, like just like not at a meet, just like random to get exposure, because that's exactly what it is. You guys need the same exposure as other people get within the same sport. We're not even talking different sports. We're
Well,
talking
I
about the
saw-
exact same sport.
I saw a video with that went viral, and it was they were trying to see if people could do a head ball as high as Cristiano Ronaldo got at one point. It was a viral video. Why couldn't we make a viral video there of just having you just like walk up? Like, maybe we should do this. Let's set up this video. I'm not even kidding. We'll go in the middle of New York City with a bunch of us. We will sit there. You'll have like maybe like an indoor shot, right? So we don't hurt anybody with the rubber. And we'll sit there and we'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, move everybody out for about 100 feet, spreading people out in the middle of the freaking, the sidewalk, and just have you launch that thing and then run with the measuring tape and just like have it go viral and just look at people like, can you do that? Come here, try. Like, just have everyone try. Like, and like, even just have you just do like a standing launch. I could imagine you still could throw it like 50 meters, 60 meters standing. So it's like, I think something like that, like make that go viral and like, boom, here's one of the best shot putters in the world. Can you do what he does? Like,
And they used
like
to
that needs to be a thing.
They used to do street meets too. Kansas
Yeah.
used to have a big one, and Sacramento in like 2015, I think, for USA Nationals, they did a street meet for the shot put. But I think it's impractical to do,
Yeah.
especially for the shot putters. So they kind of gotten away from that. I see it a little bit more in pole vault now, but
Yes, they have like here they have them like you can pole vault. They put a runway on the beach every year, and they have a meet. Because we here and I'm at
That'd
the
be perfect too. A shot putter.
Jersey Shore.
on
They
the
have
beach.
it though. Yeah.
Do it on
But
the beach. That'll be great.
I also will talk about like you mentioned the exposure aspect. Like I went to watch the U.S. National Championship on Friday, and I had to pay $12.99 a month for runner space for USATF.TV, so I could actually watch the best track and field athletes in our country compete. There's no other sport that where that it's insanity to me that. And then they're showing these. It's like in like 4 different screens that like you could barely see. It was just, and it's just mind-boggling that that's how we have to watch this amazing sport. Is it's all behind paywalls. It's even if it's Peacock, you got to pay for it. Flow Track, you got to pay for it. Runner Space, you have to pay for it. And then you're spending $40 every month, and you're like, what am I like? Why does this have to be? It's insane.
yeah, I mean, in marketing, they call it a barrier to entry. So, I mean, it's really hard to get new people to watch it if they're like, I have to pay $12.99 to watch a sport I've never seen before. I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
It has to be readily available at their fingertips. They could YouTube stuff, but that's not as cool as watching it live or in person. And whenever they're charging $50 to go watch it at a USA National meet, like nobody's going to want to do that either. So
it reminds me of like women's soccer. People get so hyped every 4 years World Cup, and then these athletes are struggling to even keep any league to maintain. It's like you guys, like people are going to watch this summer, 100%. It's going to be on NBC every night. It's going to be filled with a lot of silly fluff stories too, and not show enough of the actual events. But every 4 years, people care, and then it's like, although I was happy last year that the Worlds got some really good ratings last year, which was good. But it was on, it was on TV. It was free TV.
that's the other piece is location is USA's is always in the same place.
I know, and that's a
we talked about that. Yep.
big bone of contention there.
Always the same crowd. Eugene is a great crowd, but I bet there's a pretty cool crowd in Miami too if we went
Yeah.
and did a meet at Disneyland like
A
they
great
do
one in Georgia or Arkansas.
marathon.
Arkansas constantly is one of the best track teams in the country. You'd think they wouldn't love to have them. Their fans wouldn't like it.
Yeah, because I mean Eugene, they know when the dates are. They know they can jack up the rates.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a
Well,
great
that's the thing.
crowd, but the only other place I've competed at an outdoor national meet is at Des Moines,
Right.
which
And
again
we've
is a great crowd, but it's a lot cheaper to do it there.
yeah, we've actually talked to a lot of athletes who are like, they appreciate Eugene, but they're like, let's spread it around because it's expensive and they can't afford to go and it's hard to get there.
Yeah,
It's
'cause,
hard to get there.
Austin would be great. Most of the Division 1 schools could host it. Austin, I know, has hosted it. Arkansas's done some indoor ones, even indoors if we can move it around. It's
Right.
Albuquerque, Spokane, and Arkansas, and
Right.
that's pretty
Why not have it in Boston or New York?
They did it in Virginia one year. That
Right.
was the only time.
But
Yeah.
Boston
I
has the
mean,
New
like,
Balance one, that brand new, beautiful New
Got
Balance.
the New
You
Balance
think you
one.
couldn't, like,
Yeah.
that would be gorgeous. That is a track only facility.
or Ocean
Vegas,
Breeze is gorgeous too.
when Vegas opens up that facility, they got to do
Oh,
something
that's a
there, 'cause
400
that
meter and a
facility-
200 meter
and a
indoor
200
track.
meter. That will be insane. But so the last thing I want to bring up, and I'm pretty sure you'd be for this, but we talked to David Verberger a little while ago. American runner, great 400 meter runner, ran for 4x4 gold medalist, and he mentioned about having a sprint only meet and making that a big deal. I know they have throw only meets.
But they're not on TV.
Would it be like? Would you be down for that if there was like a big throws only meet and finals only? Right? I feel like it would be tough at first to get prelims and finals. People maybe wouldn't want to watch both. Would you be down for something like that if you had a big meet every year, or even a circuit for you guys alone, like an American thrower circuit? Here's 6 meets, finals only, hour and a half, 2 hours on TV. Boom, boom, boom. Watch every athlete's throw, and maybe gamble. Would you be cool if people would gamble on you, and if you guys got
That's
some money from that?
a lot of people have also mentioned that. Put it on DraftKings, put it on FanDuel to create revenue.
And USATF tried that this year. They did something called the USATF Pick'ems, and it was basically it was like an 8-piece parlay that you put together. It was like, will the shot put be above 2260 to win and stuff like that. I think that gambling would be great for the exposure to the sport because it
100%.
gets people literally and figuratively more invested into it. I mean, I
But
play fantasy football. I don't watch football,
absolutely.
but I'm pretty damn invested in the players I got going.
But the issue that you just said is that to find out you have to go to the USATF website, and casual fans are not doing that. If you put it on FanDuel or DraftKings, it's oh, I'm going to bet on, oh, what's this? I can bet on the Olympics or the U.S. Nationals. I know, but it would cause people to do their research. It would cause people to
Yeah.
expose themselves more to who these athletes are and to see what you guys do.
I keep on saying it should be like horse racing. Since people don't really know about the athletes much, win, place, or show. Here are the results they've had the last few meets in this event, and you could do like very similar to horse racing. I think that's would be great, and you would have people, they wouldn't have to know who Jordan Geist is. They could just see that, oh, okay, he took third here with this throw, this, in the shot. All right, I think I'm going to put him in my trifecta. I think I'm going to see if he'll get top 3. I'm pretty confident. And there you go. Like,
Yeah.
guys, I wouldn't want to
Just
treat you guys
put
like
like a
horses, but that would be
picture.
good.
Put a picture of all the throwers lined up next to each other and be like, I want number 3 to win or something like that.
Like a mugshot lineup, like the criminal lineup.
Right.
I mean, that'd be awesome. Just like all you like giant guys just standing there looking mean. And then you know what it'll be? It'll be like the one guy that smiles, be like, I want that guy. He's happy to be there. Like, but
Yeah, and like have it sponsored by like some local, like, some big time barbecue place or something. Hey,
screw that. Muscle Milk. Get Muscle Milk. As much as I'm not a big fan of Muscle Milk, just Muscle Milk sponsoring the muscle. There we go. Ah, man. But we could probably go on for a while complaining about track and field, but Jordan, I want to thank you for jumping on. This was lots of fun, man.
yes, Jordan, thank you very much for dealing with us and our sense of not knowing. I mean, we obviously know what it is, but it was such an amazing time hearing your perspective on training and what you have to go through and the fact that you can do 2 different sports. It's an honor to have you on, and best of luck. You have 2 really big fans right here.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been great.
So is there anything that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Shout out Ironwood Track Club. Shout out Kiss of Smoke Barbecue. Been great supporters of me through college and through my whole career, and I'm looking forward to doing something special with them.
And do you have any socials where the people out there can follow you?
Yep. So Jordan Geist official on Instagram. That's really the only one that I'm really active on. And then I also have a GoFundMe for anyone who wants to help me fund my journey this year and beyond.
Do it, guys. It's
So,
well worth every
Jordan, I
dollar
have
that
an
you give me.
idea, and I'm going to put this out there in the air, and I think you should do it. Create a TikTok and just call it Jordan Throws, and you just walk up to random people and you're like, "Give me that." They hand it to you, and you just spin and shot put it somewhere. Just freaking launch it, and people just get like people's reactions. I feel like that because you'd be able to get people to walk up and just like take like their milkshake or their soda and just be like, and you're an imposing dude. Who's gonna get pissed? Like, what are they gonna do to you, right? Like, just sit there and walk up.
It
Like,
works for Nick Simmons doing it. He
in the
does all
middle
those
of the
quirky
mall.
things.
In the middle of the mall, just be like, "Hey, can I get that?" And they'll be like, "What?" Just grab it and just do a spin and just launch it into the ether.
So
You would
many
get, you would
things.
definitely get watches. People would laugh hysterically at that.
Might be something to that.
See, I'm giving you an idea. So if you can't make money on shot putting, go just start
Insane that you
throwing
can't.
random stuff in TikTok.
Like, I think Alex and I get almost more pissed off than the athletes that we talk to, the fact that you guys are doing amazing things, and the fact that you guys have to struggle is just asinine, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I guess
And
so.
that's the thing is everybody who does this sport, we don't do it for the money. If we were doing it for the money, most of us could be in the NFL. We do it because we love it. It's just unfortunate that this sport isn't the NFL. So
Well,
How many guys do you think leave and stop throwing because of the money aspect? Like I'm going to stick with football, even though I'm better in track. I'm going to stick with football because if I make it in any way, I'm guaranteed more money than even if I won an Olympics in
even like
shot
collegiate
put.
NIL deals now too, it's probably luring guys to stay and play big college ball too.
You must
Oh,
lose
it's a,
guys.
it's a ton of people because I mean, if you look at so javelin is the prime example of this. In the U.S., anyone with an arm is a pitcher or a quarterback.
Especially lefties.
In Europe, you're a javelin thrower,
Right.
and that's why they're always kicking our butts every year in the javelin, especially on the men's side, because just there's just a lack of talent, not talent, because we have a lot of really special athletes that throw the javelin, but the amount of pool of great arms that there are in the U.S., they're
Oh,
going to the money. They're not going to javelin.
Yeah.
So
Which,
Patrick Mahomes, when he retires, go throw the jab for like 4 or 5 years.
yeah.
Oh, you don't know. Zach Wilson, I'm a Jets fan. You suck. Go start throwing the javelin. You're not a
Listen.
football player.
It's different though, man. I have seen quarterbacks in high school come out. I'm the quarterback, and they can't throw the thing more than 60 feet because it's all
Yeah.
technique.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. I was just making a joke about how much
I know.
Wilson sucks. But but again, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. He's Jordan Geist. He is your bronze medalist from the shot put this last indoor championships.
Sunday.
This past Sunday, yeah. And we appreciate you taking the time to jump on fresh after that.
Absolutely.
Two-time NCAA champion, two-time Pan American medalist, and a 10-time NCAA D1 All-American. So definitely go find him, go look for him on Instagram, and hopefully find him on TikTok eventually throwing random strangers things. So if you like what you heard here, give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. We'll be back again next week with another amazing guest like we have every week. Everyone, thank you for listening. So long.